Hello guys, I'm Gina, and we're going to do a 30-day series on men who are powerful and made an impact in the Bible. Hey friends, let's go ahead and get into day 3. All right, we're going to be talking about Esther, and Esther is found in the book of Esther. Esther was a young Jewish woman. They loved Esther, right? So she wound up becoming a queen because of the favor that God pretty much just had on her life. So God put favor on her, and she wound up living with her cousin Mordecai. He just thought she was just the sweetest young woman, and he wound up adopting her and just, loving her. Okay. So he raised her. So there's a guy named Haman. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he was a high ranking official, and he wanted to get rid of all the Jews, right, in the empire. And so her cousin Mordecai went outside one day. This was a little bit later. He went outside and he just, ripped his clothes, had put ashes on, and was just crying and screaming. And somebody saw him and was like, went back and told Esther, because she had became a queen, and so went back and told her, and she was like, what? And so she told, sent over clothes, said, hey, put these clothes on, take the sackcloth off. He's like, no, I don't want that. And he told her what was going to happen. So then she just was like, she was like, okay. He said, please, help me on our behalf of the Jewish people. You can talk to the king, whatever. So she was like, okay. He said, but it is going to be dangerous because, back in that day, you had to be summoned by the king. And so she's like, I don't care. And you have to read it word for word. So I'm not going to say it on here because of TikTok. But she said, if something happens to me, just let it happen. I'm going, right? So as a result of her, she was able to, the Jews were able to have victory over their adversaries. So they was able to defend themselves and everything like that. So that's an amazing story. Now I'm going to show you how I do the SOAP method, which is scripture, observation, application, and prayer. So that's how we do the scripture, the SOAP method. And I'm going to show you how I do that here. I love doing this method. So for my first part, of course, I'm going to write Esther because we're talking about the book of Esther. Now, my observation, my takeaway from that was that she discovered a plot by Haman and the king's advisor to get rid of all the Jews. Despite the risk of her own life, she still was planning to intervene. So no matter what, she was like, I'm going to do that. So that was pretty much the observation. I also noticed that she was brave. She was wise. She had faith, and she had that courage in approaching the king, which was punishable. They could have got rid of her without an invitation, but she used a strategic use of banquets to expose his plot. So she did it in a kind of a slick way, right? Now, the application part of it is where, like Esther, we might find ourselves in situations where we need to stand up for what is right, even though it's difficult. Her story is like, it teaches us about faith, about courage, the importance of acting for the greater good, right? And I think it shows the power of community and fasting, like when faced with different challenges, coming together and supporting each other in a prayer group or an action like that can make the biggest difference ever. And then the last part is prayer. We have to pray for challenges like Esther to make sure that we stand up for what is right and we stand up for the wisdom of our actions. I think it's amazing how brave she was, how wise she was. I mean, it was something. It was a very good story. And I think we can learn a lot through that Esther story because sometimes, we as Christians are supposed to be a light upon the hill. And sometimes we dim our lights down and don't allow people to know, like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. And so I encourage you to stand up for what you believe, stand up for what is right, And so if you like this content and want to see more, go ahead and like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.